Welcome dear learners. In this second video of antihypertensive agents, today I will discuss about diuretics as a antihypertensive agents. So what are diuretics? So diuretics increase the excretion of sodium, chloride and bicarbonate, and ultimately it will increase the water loss. We can say it will increase the excretion of sodium, water, chloride as well as bicarbonate, and the water loss being secondary to the increased excretion of NaCl. We can say the natriuresis. As a result, we will get increase in the urine flow, change in the urine pH and change the ionic composition of a urine as well as the blood. Now we will see the classification of diuretics. So diuretics agent can be classified as per the site of action and mechanism of action. So they are classified into 5 classes of drug. First one is the osmotic diuretic. So it will act on the proximal tubules, loop of Henle as well as the collecting duct of the kidney, and it will inhibit the water and sodium reabsorption. Or we can say it will increase the excretion of water and sodium. Now second is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So it will act on the proximal tubules. It will inhibit the bicarbonate reabsorption. As the third one is the loop diuretic. So it will act on the loop of Henle. That's why it is known as loop diuretic. And it will inhibit the sodium, potassium and chlorine co-transport. Then thiazide diuretic. It will act on the early distal tubule and it will again inhibit the sodium and chloride co-transport. Then aldosterone antagonist. It is also known as potassium sparing diuretics. It is act on the late distal tubule collecting duct. It will inhibit the sodium reabsorption and potassium secretion. See, this name suggests potassium sparing diuretic. Means it will spare potassium. Means what? It will inhibit the potassium secretion, but it will inhibit the sodium reabsorption. Now we will see the diuretics one by one. Now we will see all the class one by one. So first is osmotic diuretics. So osmotic diuretic, it will increase the amount of water excretion and sodium excretion. Now to cause a diuresis, they must constitute a fraction of the osmolarity of a tubular fluid within the nephron. Their main effect is excreted on those parts of nephron that are freely permeable to water. So it will increase the amount of water excretion and it will increase the little amount of sodium excretion. Now the mannitol. The mannitol is an example of osmotic diuretics. Generally it is given intravenously, but mannitol can be given orally. Now these are the unwanted effects. So unwanted effects include hyponatremia. Obviously, excretion of sodium increases, so the level of sodium decreases. That's why it is known as hyponatremia. Now the second side effect is nausea and vomiting. Now we will see the aldosterone antagonist. So aldosterone antagonist, as I said, it's also known as potassium sparing diuretics. So here, this is the how aldosterone antagonist work, and these are the example of aldosterone antagonist. So generally the spironolactone and its analogous, the amiloride and triamterene are the example of aldosterone antagonist. So how it will work? Here we can see these are the example. Now what happened over here? So here we can see the antidiuretic hormone. So generally what happened? The cells are impermeable to water in the absence of antidiuretic hormone, and the sodium in the absence of aldosterone. So aldosterone acts on a nuclear receptor within the tubule cell and on the membrane receptor. So what happened? The chloride ion exit the tubule through the paracellular pathway, and potassium ions are added to the filtrate. Here we will get the potassium ions. Generally it is act on the sodium potassium exchange. So here it will spare the potassium, but it will excrete the sodium. That's why it is also known as potassium sparing diuretic. Now we will see the pharmacokinetics of all the drugs. So first is spironolactone. So spironolactone is well absorbed from the gut. Its plasma half-life is only 10 minutes. It's very low, but its active metabolites is known as candrenone. It has a plasma half-life of 16 hours and its onset of action is slow. So taking several days, it will take a very long time to develop. So allopurinol has a shorter elimination half-life than candrenone and has no active metabolite. Now we will see the pharmacokinetic of a triamterene and amiloride. So triamterene is well absorbed in a gastrointestinal tract. Its onset of action within 2 hours. Its duration of action is 12 to 16 hours, is very long. It is partially metabolized in the liver and partly excreted unchanged in urine. It will excrete as it is in urine. Then amiloride is a less well absorbed and has a slower onset with a peak action of 6 hours and duration of about 24 hours. So most of the drug is excreted unchanged in urine. Now we will see the unwanted effects. So here obviously it will produce the hyperkalemia because it will spare the potassium. So it will increase the level of potassium. Then skin rashes and gastrointestinal upsets. So these are the side effects of potassium sparing diuretics. Now we will see the third one, that is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So here this is the example of carbonic anhydrase inhibitor is the acetazolamide. Now what happened over here? These are the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So here these are the cells, this is the lumen and this is the blood. What happened over here? The reabsorption of bicarbonate ions in the proximal convoluted tubule. It will shows the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So here the sodium ions are absorbed and H plus is secreted in the luminal surface. Sodium is absorbed but H plus is secreted over here. And it will produce the antiport mechanism. So what it will do? Here it will produce, there will be a bicarbonate, there is a sodium bicarbonate, so HCO3 minus which will be released by this sodium bicarbonate and it will produce H2CO3. So here there is a carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. We have to inhibit this carbonic anhydrase. Now these are the unwanted effects of carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Drowsiness, paresthesia. See here, this is the paresthesia. Means what? What happened? The nerve is compressed at the wrist and it will produce the pain. Generally, what is paresthesia? Paresthesia means it is a type of abnormal sensation that will, for example, typically it will produce a tingling effect and it is caused by the pressure or we can say the damage to the peripheral nerves. So it will produce a pain. Then gastrointestinal upsets as well as the mental disorientation. Now we will see the thiazide diuretic. So ultimately what happened? What is the role of thiazide diuretic? It is mainly act as antihypertensive agent. It will reduce the co-transport of the sodium as well as chloride. Now how it will work? Here, so the salt transport in the distal convoluted tubule showing the site of thiazide diuretic, and sodium and chloride ions enter by the electroneutral co-transport carrier that is known as C1. C1 is a electroneutral co-transport carrier, and some chloride is transported out of the cell by potassium, or we can say chloride co-transport carrier, that is C2, and some leaves the cell through the chloride channels. This is the chloride channel. Some leaves through the chloride channel, and some passes back into the tubule lumen through the potassium channels. So what is the role of thiazide diuretic? It will reduce the co-transport of sodium and chloride. Now these are the examples of thiazide diuretics is a hydrochlorothiazide and bendroflumethiazide. Now we will see the pharmacokinetics of thiazide diuretics. So thiazide and related drugs are effective orally. Drugs can be excreted in urine mainly by tubular secretion. But bendroflumethiazide has a maximum effect at about 4 to 6 hours, but duration of action is 8 to 12 hours. Now we will see what are the unwanted effects. So skin rashes, then we can say hyponatremia, means there is a decrease in the level of sodium, and impaired glucose tolerance, because there is a inhibition of insulin secretion. The effect will observe like impaired glucose tolerance. Now we will see the loop diuretics. So loop diuretics increase the delivery of sodium to the distal nephron, and it will cause the loss of the sodium as well as potassium, because chlorine but not HCO3- is lost in the urine. The plasma concentration of bicarbonate increases as the plasma volume reduces. Generally what happens? Loop diuretic produce the excretion of calcium as well as magnesium, and it will decrease the excretion of uric acid. So what are the example of loop diuretics? This is a bumetanide and furosemide. Now we will see what happened over here. So first of all, ion transport in the ascending limb of Henle's loop. It will show the site of action of the loop diuretics. So here the sodium, potassium and chloride enter by a co-transport system, that is a C1. Sodium, potassium as well as chloride. It will enter by C1. Then chloride leaves the cell through the basolateral chloride channels as well as the electroneutral co-transport system, that is C2. But some potassium returns to the lumen. Some potassium will returns to the lumen via potassium channels, but some sodium absorbs paracellularly. So generally the loop diuretics will inhibit the transport, we can say the co-transport of sodium, potassium as well as chloride. Now we will see the pharmacokinetics of loop diuretic. So loop diuretics are absorbed from gastrointestinal tract and are usually given orally. They may also be given intravenously in urgent situations, and they act within 1 hour. Generally by IV route, they produce a peak effect within 30 minutes. If we are giving it IV route, then it will produce the effect in 30 minutes. They are strongly bound to the plasma protein and so do not pass directly into the glomerular filtration. So the fraction not excreted in the urine is metabolized mainly in liver. bumetanide by cytochrome P450 pathway and furosemide being glucuronidated. So the plasma half-life of both these drugs are approximately 90 minutes and the durations is 3 to 6 hours. Now we will see what are the unwanted effects. So first is hypokalemia. Hypokalemia means there is a decrease in the amount of potassium. Then the next is hypotension. It will produce a hypotension. If we are using this as an antihypertensive agent, there will be a reduction of a hypertension, but it should not cause hypotension. But if we are taking this drug as a longer duration, means we can say long period of time, then it will produce a hypotension. Then hyperuricemia means there will be a elevated uric acid level. It's known as hyperuricemia. Then hypomagnesemia. This loop diuretic increase the excretion of calcium as well as magnesium. It will produce a side effect like hypomagnesemia. So this is all about diuretic agents as an antihypertensive. Now in the next lecture, we will see the remaining antihypertensive agents. Thank you dear learners for watching the video.